All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lauren Reeves. I'm with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, Georgia, and I'll be doing the weekly weather briefing for this week, Thursday, January 7th, 2021. All right, so there's a good bit to talk about today. We'll start with the low pressure system that's going to impact the area later on this afternoon and into the rest of the evening, bringing a rain-snow mix. Tonight into Friday across portions of northern Georgia, we do have a winter storm warning in effect, and that'll go in effect from 7 p.m. this evening through 7 p.m. on Friday. Overall, the main story there is a brief period of freezing rain will be possible, generally a glaze up to a tenth, and then a transition to snow or a rain-snow mix. And across the higher elevations, we're looking at 1 to 3 inches, and outside of the warning areas, we could see some periods of rain-snow mix possible as well, but not accumulating, but that would be generally north of I-20 and west of 85. Otherwise, we'll have dry and seasonal conditions through much of the weekend after we can get this system through. And then just taking a very, very quick glance at the next system, which is looked to impact the area Monday or Tuesday, bringing additional chances for rainfall and some more winter precip. So just taking a quick look at current conditions, the left-hand side here we have a satellite loop, mainly just showing the cloudy conditions ongoing across the area. And if we look at the right-hand side, this is a loop of the radar showing that those clouds are associated with some rainfall that'll be moving into the area through the rest of this afternoon and evening. So as I mentioned before, we do have a winter storm warning in effect from 7 p.m. this evening until 7 p.m. Friday, generally across portions of northeastern Georgia, and you can see the counties highlighted there for our area. For those elevations that are above 1,500 feet, we are expecting snow accumulations of generally around 1 to 3 inches, and we could see some isolated higher accumulations, especially in the higher peaks. And in addition, at the onset of precip, we are thinking that it could be possible to see some ice accumulations generally still along those highest elevations, and it could be around a light glaze to up to a tenth of an inch. For those elevations below 1,500 feet, you could still see that rain-snow mix and some lighter snow accumulations, but generally about a trace up to an inch. So for the areas outside of the warning, generally north and west of 20 and 85, you could still see some periods of that rain-snow mix, but not expecting any accumulations. So as far as those areas in the winter storm warning, those main impacts would be accumulating snow on roadways, could make those roadways slick or reduce visibility to make travel difficult. And then we'll look at our temperatures a little bit later, but as our temperatures dip back down well below freezing on late Friday into early Saturday, we could see some more slick road conditions. Okay, so let's talk about the timing for the ice and the snow before we take a look at it graphically. So for the higher elevations, that's all we're going to look at for now. For this slide, the best timing for freezing rain, it's a pretty small window, but that window looks like it could be later this evening after 7 p.m. until about midnight. And that would be just for the highest elevations. Like I mentioned before, those accumulations could be very light or up to a tenth of an inch. And as well for the higher elevations, once that freezing rain potential ends, we'll see time for a transition of rain-snow mix and then potentially transitioning to snow. And that would generally be anytime later this evening through Friday morning, but that light snow may linger through Friday afternoon. And overall, I know that's a big time frame, but that potential is there for anywhere from 7 p.m. through Friday morning. And as far as accumulations, we're looking at around 1 to 3 inches with some locally higher amounts possible. So now taking a look at the timing for those that are outside of the warning but still across far northern Georgia, the best time frame would be anywhere later this evening around 7 p.m. through early Friday morning, but say maybe around 9 a.m. or so. And for those areas, we could see some accumulations, but just light accumulations of a trace up to an inch possible. Now for areas that are just north of the metro and all, we could see that mix of rain and snow overnight tonight into early Thursday morning, and that's generally north and west of 85, but not across far north Georgia. But generally we're not expecting any accumulations with that or any impacts, as the temperatures will be fairly high, but too high for the snow to stick to the roadways and cause any type of travel impacts. Alright, so I'll let this model simulation play, but this is taking a look at later this afternoon through this evening and into early Friday morning. I do want to stress this is just one model solution, not a representation of actual conditions or our forecast, just something to try to get a little graphical image of what we think could happen. So one thing I want to point out is anything in pink would be freezing rain, and then in blue, that's the snow or a rain-snow mix. So if I let this play a couple times, you'll see that the trends show the potential for some freezing rain, generally later this evening, before that could transition to a rain-snow mix or snow, generally overnight into Friday morning. So it's a little hard to tell from the simulation here, but the heaviest precip does look like it could be late overnight tonight, but in the overnight hours and just before daybreak. All right, so just wanted to show those snow totals one more time, a little bit more zoomed in to northern Georgia and the higher elevation. So here we have our totals, like I mentioned before, around 1 to 3 inches possible across those highest elevations, with some isolated higher amounts possible. Otherwise, as far as impacts, as that snow falls, especially if it gets heavy at times, as the snow accumulates on the roadways, they could be slick or slushy and create some hazardous travel conditions. And then we'll again take a look at temperatures a little bit later, but just to take note, as those temperatures Friday night drop back below freezing, we could still see some of those slick roadways, especially for those that did see accumulating snowfall. But still, we still have time for there to be some changes with the forecast, especially some minor tweaks. So just keep up with our forecast on our website or on our social media or anything that we push out regarding the system. So now let's step through our temperatures through the rest of this evening and then looking at tomorrow. So this upper left-hand graphic here is showing 7 p.m. temperatures later on this evening. As you can see, much of the area remains above freezing, but across those higher elevations and especially within the warning areas, we are starting to get into the upper 30s and into the mid 30s. Then if you look at the bottom right graphic, by the time we get to midnight, as you can see in those higher elevations, we have some spots that are at freezing and several below freezing as well, with areas across the rest of northern Georgia generally in the 30s. So now we'll take a look at temperatures as we get into Friday morning. The upper left-hand graphic is showing temperatures around 8 a.m. Similar to previously, these areas around the warning area are still in the mid to upper 30s, but if we look at the higher elevations, those temperatures have definitely dipped down into the lower 30s, with several spots below freezing. Then as we look at temperatures at noon on Friday, as things start to warm back up during the day on Friday, much of the area still remains above freezing, but across those higher elevations and in the peaks we have temperatures just around freezing, but for most of the areas up here getting into mid to upper 30s. So now taking a look at high temperatures on Friday and then taking a look at those overnight lows one more time. So as we get into Friday afternoon and later on in the day on Friday, those high temperatures across much of the area will get into the 40s, but across the areas we were expecting to have the highest impacts, they'll stay a bit chillier, generally in the 30s, with some spots probably just at or above freezing. Otherwise, as we head into Friday night and into Saturday morning, here are overnight temperatures on the bottom right-hand side here. And as you can see, these temperatures are much, much colder than even what we're expecting for tonight. So generally lows across much of the area below freezing in the 30s. And then if we look in the higher elevations, temperatures dipping down into the mid-20s. So like I mentioned before, especially if there's any accumulated snow still on the roadways in these areas, that's going to create for some slick roadways as these temperatures drop back down below freezing. Alright, so taking a look at rainfall totals and kind of shifting the focus back to the rest of the area. Overall with this system, as we have precip coming in now across western Georgia, we're only expecting about a ½ inch across the area, but there could be some locally higher amounts, especially across the higher elevations and then just scattered throughout the area. Alright, so now we're really shifting our focus to the next system, and that'll be our next chances for rain after mainly dry and seasonal conditions over the weekend. We could see rain back on Monday and Tuesday. With our next system here, this graphic in the middle is looking at Monday morning. And so this yellow circle that I have here is just highlighting an area that we're continuing to monitor as precipitation overspreads the area. We could see some additional chances for some wintry precip across northern Georgia and then potentially areas in this circle. And then as we get into Tuesday morning, the system starts to exit. So all in all, another shot for rain on Monday and Tuesday, in addition to additional chances for some wintry precip to portions of northern Georgia. But just keep up with the system for those interested, and we'll get some updates out on this one as well. So to wrap things up, we had a lot to talk about today, but overall we looked at the low pressure system that's currently bringing rain to western portions of the area, but will eventually bring a rain-snow mix tonight into early Friday across portions of northern Georgia. The winter storm warning remains in effect across portions of far northeast Georgia from 7 p.m. this evening through 7 p.m. on Friday. And then overall for this system, we could see a brief period of freezing rain up to about a tenth possible, and then transition to rain mix or snow around 1 to 3 inches possible across the higher elevations, generally above 1,500 feet. For the rest of the area, we could see some periods of rain-snow mix possible north of 20 and west of 85, but overall not expecting this snow to accumulate or have any type of impacts because the temperatures as they stand now look too warm for that. Otherwise, dry and seasonal conditions will be likely through much of the weekend once that first system exits, and then after that we'll be taking a look at our next system on Monday and Tuesday, which will bring additional chances for rainfall and additional chances for wintry precip across the area. Alright, thanks so much for joining us for this week. If you have any type of questions, please feel free to reach out to us via any of the methods shown. In addition, for those that are within the winter storm warnings, if you have any additional questions or comments, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Otherwise, thanks, and we'll see you back next week.